The night swallows her footsteps as Anne walks away from the house. Her backpack feels heavier than it should. Inside, the envelope, the address, the faint smell of betrayal. The street is empty, lit only by tired lamps. She doesn't look back. The wind cuts sharp, carrying pieces of the life she just lost. At the Pinewood hostel, the walls sweat and the floor hums with old echoes. The receptionist barely glances up, just slides a key across the counter. Room 14 smells of bleach and something older. The window sticks, the light flickers. Perfect, she whispers. It's exactly the kind of place where no one asks questions. She pins the first photograph to the wall. Her mother's name glows faintly under fluorescent light. Dr. Lan Ngoc, the woman the world forgot, and draws a red line between her photo and a printed headline. Tan Minh Institute under investigation for ethical violations. The ink smears, but the meaning stays sharp. Next, a photo of Minh, her foster father at a charity event. Smiling. Standing beside Dr. Hai, the man who declared Lan Ngoc insane. The red line connects them, bleeding across the cheap wallpaper. Anne opens her notebook. Dates, places, payments. Her handwriting grows harder, more deliberate. She finds a bank record online. A transfer from the Tan Minh Foundation to Minh Tran, dated 17 years ago. The note says, child care subsidy. She laughs, quiet and bitter. A subsidy for silence. Her mother lost her freedom, and Minh bought a child. The pattern starts to form. Each whistleblower tied to the same institute. Each vanished after raising questions. She maps their names, pins their faces. The wall turns into a web. Red threads pulse like veins. Outside, sirens wail somewhere distant. And sits cross-legged on the bed, the glow of her laptop slicing the dark. She reads about behavioral correction therapy. Phrases wrapped in scientific calm, hiding cruelty. She finds a single surviving article about Lan Ngoc. Doctor removed from post amid mental health concerns. No mention of her research. No mention of the women she tried to protect. The page ends with one word, deceased, and stares at it for a long time. Her throat tightens, but no tears come. Deceased doesn't mean gone. It means hidden. She types into the search bar, unlisted psychiatric facilities, northern region. Dozens of results flash. One catches her eye. A private behavioral center in the woods. No address, just a name. Tin M. Her pulse quickens. She circles it in red. The first real lead. The radiator hisses behind her. She turns off the light, letting the glow of her evidence wall guide her. The faces watch her from the paper. Minh. Hai. Ngoc. All bound by the same thread. Tomorrow, she'll start at the courthouse. Old records never truly disappear. Someone always forgets to lock a drawer. And lies back on the bed. The ceiling above her is cracked, just like her past. But now, she finally knows where to start digging. The courthouse smells of dust and old paper. And signs her name on the visitor log, hand steady, heart not. The clerk barely looks at her. Public records, second floor, he says without warmth. The stairs creak beneath her weight. Each step feels like crossing into buried history. In room 204, shelves stretch like walls of forgotten lives. She pulls a file marked Tan Minh Institute, 2005. Half the pages are missing. The rest stamped confidential in red. Her mother's name appears once, underlined twice. A handwritten note beside it reads, subject terminated, reassigned to private care. Her fingers freeze on the paper. Terminated. Not dead, but erased. She snaps a photo of the file before the guard walks by. The camera click sounds too loud. Finding what you need, the guard asks. She forces a smile. Just researching a case for school. He nods, uninterested. She exhales when he leaves. Outside, rain begins to fall, soft but relentless. She ducks into the public library. Rows of computers hum like tired bees. And searches digital archives, fingers trembling. Headlines blur together. Whistleblower psychiatrist detained. Experimental therapies show promise. Funding increases for behavioral research. Each line tastes of lies. A woman's voice interrupts her focus. You've been looking at the same screen for an hour. And turns. An older woman stands there, cardigan worn thin, eyes sharp. I used to file those reports, she says. Her name tag reads PH letter 1B0 letter 1E3 NG, retired staff volunteer. And swallows hard. Do you remember a Dr. Lan Ngoc? PH letter 1B0 letter 1E3 NG studies her for a moment too long. Then quietly, follow me. They descend into the archive basement, air thick with mildew. PH letter 1B0 letter 1E3 NG unlocks a metal drawer. Inside lies a faded envelope. I shouldn't have this, she whispers. But I knew one day someone would ask. And opens it carefully. Inside are photocopies of complaint letters, dated years apart. All from female doctors, all warning about unethical trials. All later declared unstable. At the bottom, a familiar signature, Lan Ngoc. Her handwriting fierce and defiant. And feels the world tilt. These were supposed to be destroyed. PH letter 1B0 letter 1E3 NG adds. But truth has a way of hiding in plain sight. And photographs everything. Her pulse drums in her ears. Back in her room that night, she spreads the photos across the bed. A timeline begins to form. Lan Ngoc's report, internal audit right arrow, sudden dismissal right arrow, forced commitment. She traces the chain of names. Dr. Hai. Min Tran. The Tan Min Foundation. Every arrow points to the same destination. She types it into her notes. Control through silence. The phrase feels right. She returns to one document stamped, transfer approved facility, Tin Am. No further data, no location. But next to it, a faded seal. She enlarges the photo. Coordinates, half visible in the ink. Her breath catches. She copies them down. A forest area 2 hours north. There's a road. No map shows it. She closes the laptop, the glow fading from her face. Outside, thunder rolls. And looks at the wall of strings and clippings. Now there's direction, not just rage. Tomorrow, she will follow the coordinates. Whatever waits there, it will not hide forever. The road north twists through mist and pine. And drives alone, the coordinates glowing on her phone. Branches scrape the car like whispers. The air thickens, the signal dies. Then she sees it. A tall gate of rusted iron, crowned with barbed wire. A faded sign reads, Tin and Behavioral Center. No cameras, just one bored guard in a booth. She parks a mile away, watching through binoculars. Uniforms move between buildings, precise and silent. Every window is barred. This is not a hospital. It's a cage. And adjusts the mirror and catches her reflection. Her hair now black, her eyes harder. She opens the glove compartment. Fake ID, forged letter, student badge. Angela La, graduate researcher. Field study on institutional psychology. She breathes once, twice, then drives forward. At the gate, the guard glances at her badge. Appointment. Yes, confirmed by Dr. Hai's office. She lies. The gate opens with a reluctant groan. Inside, the air smells of bleach and decay. White walls, locked doors, footsteps echoing too long. A nurse escorts her to the visiting area. Keep your questions short, he says. Patients tire easily. The door closes behind her and scans the room. Plastic chairs bolted to the floor. A single window with steel mesh. Then she sees her. A thin woman sitting by the glass, hands folded in her lap. Lan Ngoc. Her mother. The years haven't erased her grace, only dimmed it, and forces her voice steady. Dr. Ngoc, I'm Angela. Thank you for meeting me. No recognition. Just a polite nod, eyes unfocused, and lowers her voice. Mother, it's me, and the world stills. Lan Ngoc's eyes sharpen, breath catching. They said you'd forget me, she whispers. Her voice cracks, small but fierce, and leans forward, hiding her trembling. I found your name. I found everything. Tears rise but don't fall. The guard glances over, uninterested. Lan Ngoc straightens, pretending to read from the papers in front of her. They watch, don't show too much. Her fingers move beneath the table, sliding a small blue notebook into Anne's bag. 17 years, she says softly. Records, dates, treatments, they never searched well. Anne's pulse hammers. She nods as if discussing research. A nurse's cart rattles down the hallway. Who did this to you? Dr. Hai, Min Tran, the foundation. They called it therapy. Her tone stays flat, her eyes blazing, and grips the notebook tighter. I'll get you out, she whispers. Lan Ngoc's smile is faint, sad but sure. I know, you have my eyes. The door opens. Time's up. And gathers her papers, heart breaking in rhythm with her steps. Outside, the sunlight feels false. The guard stamps her pass and waves her through. She drives until the building disappears in the rearview mirror. Only then does she open the notebook. Names, codes, schedules. At the bottom, one line written in shaky ink. Trust my H1ED3NG. Thursdays at 4, service entrance. And closes the book. The next move is already waiting. The clock reads 3:42 when it reaches the back gate. Rain slides down her collar, cold and sharp. She waits beneath the trees, watching the delivery trucks come and go. At exactly 4, a woman appears, carrying a wicker basket. Her uniform is faded, her steps cautious. My H1ED3NG, and whispers. The woman freezes, keys in hand. Who's asking? Lan Ngoc sent me. The air between them changes. Fear, then recognition, then resignation. Not here, Mai says quickly. Lakeside Cafe, 1 hour. Bring nothing that talks. And nods and leaves before the cameras can turn. The cafe smells of burnt coffee and secrecy. Mai arrives in plain clothes, her hair tucked under a scarf. She sits without looking directly at him. I've waited years for this, she murmurs. From her bag, she slides a flash drive across the table. Medication schedules, treatment logs, internal memos. And stares at it like it might burn through her skin. Mai continues, voice low. Your mother wasn't the only one. They called them patients. They were witnesses. She opens a manila folder, pushing it toward Anne. Inside are pediatric records, names, numbers, injections, and sees her own among them. Her date of birth, her dosage, signature, Min Tran. Her stomach knots. What did they give us? Neuroinhibitors, Mai says. Designed to suppress aggression, curiosity, rebellion, the perfect obedience drug. And grips the edge of the table. Her hands shake, but her voice doesn't. They used me to test their control. Mai nods once. You and others like you, children of whistleblowers, adopted into quiet homes. The cafe door opens. And flinches, then relaxes. Just a couple leaving. She lowers her voice. I'll expose them, every name, every record. You'll need help, Mai says. Her eyes flicker with something like hope. I know a journalist who once tried. They ruined her career. She writes a name on a napkin. TH letter 1EA30 Vi. Find her before they find you. Hours later, and sits in a small apartment filled with stacks of newspapers. TH letter 1EA3. Vi opens the door halfway, suspicion heavy in her stare. I'm not doing stories anymore, she says flatly, and holds out the folder. You will after this. Vi studies her face, then the papers. Her expression shifts. Where did you get these? From the people who survived, and answers. Vi exhales. Then we go wide. Multiple outlets, multiple timelines. They can't erase everything. And nods. They work through the night, dividing files, encrypting data. Each packet assigned to a journalist, a podcast, a medical forum. When dawn comes, the first draft of the truth sits ready on the table. Vi draws a rough circle on a notepad. Separate fires burn best, she says, and smiles faintly. They can't bury what's already burning. Her phone vibrates. A message from Mai, security tightening. They know something's leaking. And looks out the window. The city feels smaller than before. The storm has only begun. The knock comes just after midnight. And freezes, her laptop still glowing. Outside, the hallway hums with static quiet. When she opens the door, Min stands there. His suit immaculate, his eyes tired. We need to talk, he says softly. And steps aside, but doesn't offer a seat. You shouldn't be here. He places a folder on the table. Inside, medical charts, her name, her childhood. You were unstable, he says. We try to help you. The drugs kept you safe. And laughs, a sound sharp as glass. Safe from what? From remembering. He tightens his jaw. Your mother's condition was genetic. We only prevented history from repeating. She moves closer. You turned history into business. He flinches. You don't understand the scale of what you're provoking. I understand enough, she replies. Min exhales slowly, voice low. The police will call you tomorrow. They're worried about your mental state. And tilts her head. Convenient timing. He says nothing. His silence confirms everything. When he leaves, she locks the door twice. Her phone buzzes moments later. A message from Mai, transfers tonight. They're moving patients. And grabs her coat, heart drumming fast. Vi meets her outside, rain soaking both their hair. They're covering tracks, Vi says. Then we burn faster, and answers. At dawn, the first podcast airs. A voice reads excerpts from Lan Ngoc's journal. By noon, the news cycle erupts. Headlines flood every screen. Behavioral Institute under fire. Foundation faces corruption probe. Whistleblower records leak online. Social media explodes with the tag 10M truth. And scrolls through hundreds of posts. Former patients, nurses, even relatives speaking out. The truth spreads like wildfire. At the hostel, the manager pulls her aside. 2 men came asking for you, he whispers. Badges, no names. And packs in silence. Vi drives her to a safe apartment owned by a friend. They keep working, coordinating the release. The second wave hits global media by evening. Financial records, audio recordings, photos. Min's signature appears on national television. He stands before reporters, denying everything. The allegations are absurd, he stammers. But behind him, the documents flash on screen. His voice cracks. Vi turns up the volume. They're breaking, she says. N's phone vibrates again. A text from Mai, security thin tonight. If you're going, this is the time. And looks at Vi. One last thing before the world moves on. They drive through back roads, headlights slicing rain. At the gates of 10M, guards swarm the front. Media vans line the road. No one watches the service entrance. Mai meets them there, trembling but determined. Everything's chaos inside, she whispers, and slips on a stolen staff badge. They move through empty halls, alarms echoing faintly in distance. Room 317 waits at the end. Lan Ngoc sits ready, a small bag by her side. I knew you'd come, she says, and takes her mother's hand. We're leaving now. They walk through the corridor, as lights flicker overhead. No one stops them. Outside, rain turns silver under headlights. The gate closes behind them with a heavy click. Freedom sounds like thunder fatting away. The sea smells of salt and new beginnings. 6 months have passed since the night they escaped. And in Lan Ngoc live in a small coastal village. Locals know them as Mai and Lin, a quiet mother and daughter. Their cottage leans toward the ocean, windows open to the sunrise. Each morning, Lan Ngoc wakes early, tracing light across the table. She hums softly, voice steadier now, and brews tea, the steam curling through the quiet. They no longer whisper when they laugh. The fear has loosened its grip. Outside, gulls scream over the waves, then vanish into mist. On the wall, a faded calendar marks slow, gentle days. Blue ink for good ones. Black for the restless nights. There are more blue than black now. Anne's laptop sits closed most of the time. But the world hasn't forgotten them. News continues to break, louder each week. Dr. Hai arrested. Minh Tran charged with conspiracy and medical fraud. Former patients come forward with their stories. The foundation collapses under its own lies. Vi's investigation wins national awards. In her final article, she thanks the nameless women who refuse to stay erased. And reads it once, then shuts the screen. Some battles are better left in the past. Lan Ngoc still flinches at sudden sounds. But her hands no longer shake when she writes. She fills crossword puzzles while tea cools beside her. 6 letters, she says one morning. What was once lost? And doesn't look up. Found. Her mother smiles, a real one this time. They eat breakfast with sunlight pouring through thin curtains. On the radio, a reporter announces a new congressional hearing. Testimonies from survivors are being recorded. Lan Ngoc listens but doesn't speak. Her silence is not fear. It's peace. Later that evening, they walk along the shoreline. The wind lifts Lan Ngoc's hair, streaked with silver. She carries a photograph in her pocket. A younger self, holding a child in yellow overalls. And watches waves erase their footprints. They thought burying you would make you disappear, she says. Lan Ngoc squeezes her hand. They forgot buried things can grow. Their shadows stretch long over the sand, fatting with the tide. When they return home, the mailbox holds a single envelope. No name, just a symbol. Inside, a short note from Vi. They're rebuilding the case archive. Your mother's testimony is safe. Lan Ngoc folds the paper, places it beside the teapot. Some things deserve to rest, she murmurs. Night falls quiet. The cottage glows warm against the dark. And sits by the window, watching stars blink into life. Each one feels like a piece of memory resurfacing. Her reflection in the glass no longer looks lost. It looks home. Lan Ngoc joins her, wrapping a shawl around both their shoulders. They sit without words, listening to the sea breathe. Freedom at last sounds like the tide coming home. Morning light spills through the window, soft and gold. The sea murmurs beyond the dunes, steady and kind, and pours tea into 2 chipped cups. Lan Ngoc hums while folding the newspaper. The headline reads, Final verdict, justice served. Names once untouchable now printed in bold. Dr. Hai sentenced. Minh Tran facing life imprisonment. The foundation dissolved. The voices of the silenced finally heard. Lan Ngoc traces the letters with her fingertip. Her eyes glisten, but no tears fall. They can't take this back, she whispers. And nods. They never will. Outside, waves crash, then retreat like a sigh. The years of running, hiding, remembering, done. Peace feels strange but real. They step outside, the wind cool on their faces. Seagulls wheel above the water, wild and free. Lan Ngoc closes her eyes, breathing in salt and sun. For the first time, she says, I feel alive. And smiles, linking her arm through her mother. The world ahead is quiet, uncharted, theirs. Together they walk toward the light, leaving shadows behind, their footprints fading into the sand.